So yeah, like when you said earlier that you can be born gay or you grow up and realise you're gay, what I think there's a big debate on you are or you're not born gay. Like,
nature versus nurture.
Yeah. What's your take or view or belief on that?
So a lot of the problem is about language. So, so the word gay as a thing didn't really exist a couple of 100 years ago. So what was there before? There probably was, there were 100%, there were men who were having sex with men, there were women having sex with women, there were probably non-binary people, there were people who were like, didn't feel they were men but looked like men, and like vice versa. So when I was growing up, I remember when I was 19 or 20 and I went for some counseling at university because I was unhappy, and it was the counselor who was asking me in her questions. She was going through a list of things and she said to me, so are you straight, are you gay? And I thought, you know what, I can't believe it, that's what I am. And I think it was this weird thing of like, so if there was a different word to describe it, and a different word that was either more specific that said, you're attracted to men, and you're all these other things, or if there was a bigger word, I probably would have gone with that. So the point is that I knew from birth that I was not the same as my brothers.
What made you realise, like, what was it that made you realise that you wasn't the same?
It was just a natural. So I remember probably one of my early memories of playing with my female cousins.
Yeah.
And just feeling really like at home with what they were doing. And I remember playing with their dolls, and I remember it was just normal. I just thought that is what I wanted to do. And then I remember, because my older brother is very much into sports, and so I played football, I played cricket, but I wasn't like your typical kind of like, I did it because it was like a fun thing to do when everyone was playing it.
Yeah.
I never watched it, and my dad was always like going on about cricket, and I was like, I think I learned how the rules of cricket like in my 20s, and even then I'm like, this is what, this goes on for days. Why would I sit here and watch this? But for me, that, I think, as someone who knows about the mind, my understanding is that my brain is wired in such a way that actually what some people would call more feminine things, I have enjoyed more. And they give me, so things like, I was always into cooking, I can sew, I sing, I'm like, I really like, so like, I really like cleaning, I've always liked cleaning. So, and one of my biggest things last year was learning how to make aloo paratha. So that kind of thing, and for a lot of guys, that kind of thing would threaten their sense of themselves. They'll be like, oh no, guys don't do that, and if they do that, what does that mean? What does that make me? That kind of thing. So I think, but my brain has always been like that. And the hard thing for being different is that you learn. So for me, when I was growing up, for a long time, I thought because I was like that, I would never be good at sport. But I realized actually, like, I'm 6'2". I'm pretty good at like sports. I just needed the practice. So you think, and because I thought, being gay means that you're not good at sports, because that's what people told me. No. What being gay means is that there are certain masculine environments that might want to exclude me, because I might make them uncomfortable, or I feel uncomfortable being there. So the point is, my brain is probably still more closer to what some people might say more stereotypically feminine thinking. And that's partly probably what drew me to psychiatry, because I really like talking to people about their feelings. Just because they're kind of like feminine ideas, that doesn't mean that all women are like that. So some women hate talking about that kind of stuff. Some women hate chatting and like makeup, all that kind of stuff, but they feel they have to do it. So my experience of talking yeah exactly, because you have to pass, isn't it?
Whatsoever.
Yeah. I think what I would say is what I've learned is just like mix it up every now and then.
No, I do when I have to, but it's just when I have to. Otherwise, bare face, I'm happy.
Yeah, and you should be. And I think, but you will know that And I think for majority of people I spoke to, if not all of them, they will say, when I was born, I knew in a classroom there was something very different about me. And it was only until I got older that someone gave me a way to explain it. And when they gave me a way to explain it, I realized that there was a whole group of people that also felt the same way.
I know I said I had two, but I've got another two. Sorry.
Don't worry.
I'm going to keep it to midnight at this rate. So when you said about the mind, so do you think now doing the job that you do made you understand more what you went through as a child, and you pick up like, oh, this is what it was? Or
I've always been the kind of person that wanted to help people, and I've always been the kind of person that has a very particular way of understanding people. So I always looking for the meaning of why people do things. And in my field, in psychiatry, that's one of the best things about it. So when I was training, I learned about psychotherapy, and I gave psychotherapy to people, and then I had some psychotherapy myself. So by the time the training finished, like if someone presents me a problem, like, I feel sad, I've got about 10 different ways I can talk to them about that sadness, and 10 different ways I can understand their sadness. And it really makes people so much more interesting than just that kind of one, it's not just like I had a bad life. There are other things, there's the chemicals, there's the life situation, there's your relationships, there's substances, there's all these kinds of things. And I've always been like that. So I think I ended up in the field that kind of suited my brain the most. Which is
that's our first one. So you said, sorry.
This is like another episode to the episode.
You said something interesting there about when you're in a classroom that you notice that you're different to other boys, or if you're a female, notice you're different to the females. And then he said it's only in later life that you realize that there's a way to express it. Then that links in, because I'm a teacher, so I'm thinking when it comes to education, obviously you have to have sex education in schools. People argue that if you teach people about LGBTQ, that will turn them into LGBTQ. It's a redundant point, but what's your take on that? Do you think there needs to be education, and how would you counter people's argument?
My counter to that argument would be, and then what? And so what? And I think you sometimes get so the question is, why are you asking me that question? Not you, but why is the person asking that question? Because by asking the question, you're implying there's something wrong with the idea that a man could fall in love with another man, or it's so the question is, and the other way of thinking about it is, if you look through history, there have always been people like me, and there are plenty of straight relationships where a man is married to a woman and still having sex with a man, and vice versa. So I would say there's plenty of evidence to say that sexuality is as diverse as anything else. So my question to them is, do you think your teaching is so good that you are able to put an idea into a child's head and that they will run away? And then and it's like saying, well, if I teach about Nazis, that it's going to turn some of my students into Nazis.
I like that. That's a good
analogy. Very good.
You want to trust the intelligence of the student in front of you, and you describe it in such a way of such as saying, this is the diversity of sexuality in the world, and it's normal for kids. It's always been normal for some kids to be confused about that. And that's what the teenage years are for. That's what your 20s are for. You understanding yourself. The responsibility of the teacher is to say, there is nothing wrong with you if you find that you are not the same as the person sitting next to you. And if you do find you're different, there's this whole other area of information that you can access, so you don't have to feel bad just for waking up every day as you.
Which is good.
What was your question?
My third out of 4 questions was, when you said when you realised when you were growing up that you were different, like in terms of you preferred the more feminine things and stuff.
Mm.
Did your parents, your siblings pick up on that? Because like when I was young, I
Yeah.
would still say I'm a complete tomboy. Like I am the least girliest girl ever in the world.
Yeah.
And like when I was a kid, like I used to play for girls' football team, and like because I've got 2 elder brothers.
Yeah.
A lot of my upbringing was like, and a lot of boys in my family, so it was just natural for me to play football, play cricket. Like, but that was okay because they were like, they would include me and stuff. So for
Yeah.
me, that was normal. Whereas when I used to join a girls' team, like some of the girls would be like, "Oh, like you're Indian, you play football." Like it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
But did your parents or siblings pick up on that and think anything of it, or did they not?
I'm sure they did, but again, nobody would have ever said that to me.
Mm.
I remember weird experiences of me trying to do things which I then realized were quite like girly things to do.
Mm.
And as a child, I didn't really know the difference.
Yeah.
Because again, a lot of our thinking about those things comes in through what people imply rather than what they say.
Yeah.
So we learn about what a man's supposed to do by looking at the men around us, which is usually our dad or our brothers or whatever. And I knew that some of the stuff I was really into was not, nobody in my, my brothers weren't doing it.
Yeah.
And I remember some weird awkward situations where I kind of like picked up something and you just get a look.
Mm.
I don't, you can't have that. That's not for you.
Yeah.
And that what happens for a child is because a child doesn't have the ability to understand why they're being told that.
Mm.
So they automatically assume it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And they build up a bank of all the bad things that I want to do that I can't do.
Yeah.
But because nobody explained why it was bad, and because you're a child, you can't really reason it.
Mm.
So you're like, there must be something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Fundamentally. And that's how you end up as an adult carrying around these weird things of like, oh, so I can't look too feminine. I can't go out in the world and look too feminine because men don't do that.
Mm.
And then you can start to imagine how much energy sometimes it takes for someone who doesn't identify as, typically man or woman in terms of their appearance, just getting up and getting dressed and going out the door. It's hard work.
Yeah.
Because you just feel the light, the eyes of the world on you.
Yeah.
So, and I think so, and even like when you say about being a tomboy, it's really interesting because you're not. You're just a woman.
I never said that. You're telling me.
And I think so. It's kind of like you say we have to like women who don't like. There are lots of women like you. I've got people in my own family. I know one of my cousins.
I would never shy away from that. I'm proud to say yes.
Yeah.
I like it doesn't bother me. Like I think it's good to be different. So the fact
Yeah.
that I don't wear makeup all the time. I'm not saying people who do it's bad, but that's their choice. So that's how they feel comfortable, and I'm happy just joggers and bare skin, like bare face.
Yeah. It's good. I think now is a good time to be different. It's not the best time, but it's a good time because one of the best things, there's a lot of bad things about social media, but one of the best things is that you can now find lots of people who are very proud about being different.
Yeah.
The trick is always, especially for us, is if you come from a situation where you feel automatically connected to all the people around you in your family, it's fine to be one thing in your house or at work. The real test is, can you be that
outside
in your community? Can you go there and say, you know what, today I'm not going to straighten my hair and I'm just going to wear a hat and I'm just going to wear trousers and I'm going to wear a t-shirt and I'm going to go out, no makeup, nothing, whatever. I'm going to go and go to this, go to someone's house for this event, whatever. And then you start feeling some of the rules and cages that are around us. Because the people who love us should just be like, you know what, it doesn't matter. You're here, you came, that's great.
I hear it all the time. Like sometimes whenever we have to go somewhere, sometimes it's like this sort of pre-written verbal agreement or something, like it's a condition that you have to wear makeup. No one said nothing, you have to wear makeup. So sometimes she'll wake up and she's like, you have to wear makeup today. I'm like, no, you do what you want to do. Then all I hear is, oh, I'll go get to makeup.
Because I'm like, I know if I don't, like, just so show some sort of effort, But for me, showing effort would be straightening my hair. Really, that's what it
No,
would.
but do you know what I mean? It's that kind of, and I think so. Even me, I think I'm like progressive,
Yeah,
but I'm not. I have a beard, so I read as a straight man in a lot of
yeah,
environments because
yeah,
of the way I look. I would love to be more fluid with the way that I look, but I know, for example, at work, if I turned up this week to my new job, as a psychiatrist with some confusing, like just even if it was just, it didn't have to, I could behave exactly the same. But if I was wearing, for example, a very, very loud, bright top, or even if I went into work wearing a smart like kurta pajama or something like that,
yeah,
that would really, really be confusing for people.
yeah.
And so we know those social rules,
Mm,
but we only become aware of them when we think, if we stepped out of that, would it be okay or would it not be okay?
yeah.
And then we start realizing how much they are all around us.
Yeah, like, because like I was gonna say, like, I think I was lucky with my parents being how they were with me, like knowing I was this sporty kid, and
Yeah.
it got to the point where sometimes they'd buy me dresses, and my mum would say wear it, and I would cry.
Yeah.
That's how much I hated it. But then they were fine. They were just like, oh, whatever. So they didn't mind that I would like live in joggers or whatever. Like, so I think I was quite lucky. And even my cousins, they all knew used to play football, and they would like, I've got to say I was lucky. They never made me feel like, now you have to be like a girl type
She's
of
like
thing.
the real life Bendy like
I
Beckham.
really am.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I can understand the difficulties for people that don't have that luxury, I guess.
But even, I think so, it even says how, so the fact that you were lucky, and that, but that also you say that you were lucky, just shows how like tricky our situation is, because
Well, that's it. Because for me, that was my norm. But it was only when I went to college that I saw, like, I saw girls would leave the house in one thing, come to college in another, and that really, I don't remember telling him this story, but it really shook me. Like, oh my gosh, like you have to do that.
Yeah.
And like I've never been in that position, so I know that I'm very lucky to be like in the environment that I have been and be open. But like it is shocking, like it's scary that some people have to, and it's a shame. It is a shame.
It's a huge shame. It's a huge shame. If you've got a passion for something, if you're good at something, it's just like a normal thing. Why should you feel you're carrying the whole honor of the family? Just because you're going for a game of football or whatever.
Yeah.
Someone might see you and they'll be like, look at her, she's playing football like a boy or whatever. You just think, really?
Yeah.
People have got too much time on their hands.
That's it. But no, my final question, I think, is when you said about like your extended family, and it can be a bit difficult, like social situations. So say, for example, pre-COVID, there was a party. Would you feel comfortable taking your partner with you, or would you avoid it?
So we were very, I remember there was a crunch point. So it was so we were in New Zealand for a year, me and my partner. And we got my parents to come out to visit us. So we paid for them to come out. And they never would have been there otherwise. And so it was a really good opportunity for them. But that conversation about coming out to see us was a good few years after I'd come out to them, and they knew about my other half, and they knew we were together there in New Zealand. But that was a real crunch point in them actually coming to stay with us overnight. Okay. Especially for my dad, actually, he really had to come to terms with it.
Yeah.
So I think that now I've lost the thread of what did you ask me? Because
I said, like, in terms of
extended family.
Yes. So that was a real turning point, and they became super relaxed. And once my parents were relaxed with it, I kind of thought, you know what? I am a little bit of a rebel. I am a little bit of a like push the boundaries, but in like quite a nice way. I do it like, so if people invite me to a wedding, then he's my other half, so he's coming. And I remember when we came back, I had a real row with my parents because we got invited to a wedding of someone we don't even know that well, but they're like family. And I was like, and they were like, I said, is he invited? And they said no, or not specifically. And I said, well, I'm not going. I said, unless they invite him specifically, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And that was and for me, that was like I had drawn a line in the sand, saying, you know, we've been together for, I don't know, at this point, like 4 or 5 years or something. I'm not going to be that person that is making, you know, because by doing that, what happens is they feel bad anyway, because they know that's wrong.
Yeah.
They might, in the moment, they might feel a bit easier, but ultimately they know they've done something wrong. I feel bad because they're saying to me, this is not right. And then I take that back to my relationship and say, I'm ashamed of you as well.
No, yeah.
So nobody wins in that situation. The funny thing is that when we started coming, so I prefer the term inviting in now. So when we started inviting in bigger parts of the extended family, we realized that actually a lot of people were much more open-minded about it, possibly because they'd seen us together.
Yeah.
And they'd had time to process it. Or maybe they'd seen our parents, or my parents were okay with it. But they were like, so now they specifically ask, or they, you know, so you must both come.
That's cool.
And we thought it was good that it happened that way, because when we had our civil partnership, if more of the extended family were okay with it, it would have been too expensive.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was good that maybe we thought some of them would be anti it, because then it meant we just had a smaller, intimate thing.
They're nicer ones, aren't they?
Yeah, we were very lucky. I mean, again, that's the kind of the great thing about realizing that you have a choice in how you live your life. You can have that dual heritage of your Englishness, your Punjabiness. And just take what you want from it. You know, take all the best bits, leave all the crap bits. You know, the bits that are outdated, that should have like been chucked in the bin in the 60s and 70s. We can throw those things away.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing stopping us. I think sometimes our parents are kind of like, you can't do that. But I think when they see you can do that, and also nobody cares that much, then you can start creating this like we're so lucky that we've got that kind of that all of that culture to draw on.
Well, that's it, and it's a good point. Like, the thing is, you don't live your life any differently had it been you married a woman or a girl married your life doesn't change that significantly. So it's true, like you carry on as normal. Honestly,
have you finished the game with 20 more questions?
I could talk to you all day. And
well, do you know what, I'm glad it's been interesting for you, and I'm glad
I've never been this on the edge of my seat ever.
Well, I have thought about things a lot over the years. So I think it's really nice to be able to talk about some of these things with people who understand.
It's needed. It's really needed. Like we're pretty open. Like we've said, you know, whatever happens, if we have a child and they say that, it is what it is. You just accept it and help them. You know, so you know, it doesn't bother me. And I think that's how it should be, to be honest.
Exactly. So no, it's great.
I think we need to talk to you every year in this series.
Well, we can do an update, maybe like sometime in the future, of like
post-COVID. See how this got on.
It's just a chance for me to talk to you every time.